Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Real Steel, where we talk all things Pittsburgh Steelers. No BS, just the real steel. I'm your host, Jeff, joined by my co-host, Polt. Well, Polt. Pittsburgh Steelers put together a pretty convincing win against the Miami Dolphins on Monday night, prime time, 28-15. I think this was the first game I've seen all season where our three phases of football worked and felt like everything was cohesive and we were a football team. We've been talking in recent episodes how we haven't seen that yet. And maybe we just manifested it because it happened on Monday and it's a pretty convincing win for the Steelers. So immediate reactions. We're here one day after. How you feeling?
Yeah, this is the first game in a while that I can think of that I can remember that I was able to sit back and kind of relax in the second half. I mean, the third quarter was a dominant third quarter, which we usually get dominated in the third quarter in recent months. The fourth quarter was just us holding on to a big lead, but really no threat of giving it up. And I feel great. It was good as a Steelers fan because I think every single Steelers fan can understand how we feel. We're always on edge every single Sunday or Monday in this case when we play, and especially after the games, you're still on edge just because of how intense the games finish. And this one was calm, and you and I were actually able to go to bed happy, not have to be all wound up, and that's a first. Like that's the first I felt that in a long time. So I am to the moon about it, and yeah, it was a great game. It's going to be fun to break down.
Yeah, we had both said we'll take a win no matter how we get it, whether it's a
Yeah.
tight win, whether it's a big win. Any win here is good, and we got it. It's
Yep.
interesting because the game started out pretty slow. We actually went down 3-0. Miami was the first team to get some points on the board, but if you go all the way back to the beginning of the game, we kicked off. Miami got a first down on their first play, but from there, three plays and punted to us. We went three and out and punted, but on Miami's next drive, we forced an interception, and it felt like, okay, maybe this is going to set the tone a little bit. But we continued to trade punts for a while, and then ultimately
Yeah.
Miami got that field goal. We were able to put together a 12-play, 60-yard drive for a touchdown close to the end of the second quarter and go into the half 7-3. But
Yep.
as you mentioned, the third quarter is like really where we turned it on. We never are a team that can score on our first possession right out of the locker room. And we put together a touchdown. We stopped the Dolphins for a punt. We put together another touchdown, stopped the Dolphins for a punt. We actually scored four touchdowns in a row, which what? I think that's the first time since 2018 that's happened.
Yes.
Yeah. So like really impressive offensive play in the third and into the fourth quarter. Now defensively, we kind of just played prevent defense and let things go a little bit off the wire fourth quarter, but nothing that worried me about that. Just a little bit of annoyance, but nonetheless,
Yeah.
really great game offensively and then defensively from the team to be able to hold the Dolphins to how many punts here early? One, two, three, four punts in their first six drives and one turnover and one field goal. So
Yep.
pretty great stuff.
Yeah, and I mean this game started as any typical Steelers game starts. It started slow, like you mentioned, and I had a few people tell me that that was hard to watch and they got pretty bored. And I was like, yeah, that's Pittsburgh Steelers football. But we ended up turning it up, and like you said, the four touchdowns and on four straight drives, first time in a long time. They took the lead 3-0, which was pretty interesting, and then we put that touchdown in the end zone before half. And there's a crazy stat about that. They took the 3-0 lead with 5:17 left in the second quarter, and from then until 4:58 left in the third quarter, the Dolphins ran just four plays, and we were up 21-3. I mean, we possessed the ball the entire third quarter, and we basically dominated it to get that nice 28-3 lead, and never looked back from there. And it was dominating. It is I think the correct word to use in the end of the second, beginning of the third. That touchdown going into half really set us up, gave us momentum to score and keep pushing along. And it was great to see us come out of half, like you said, on a 6-play, 71-yard touchdown drive. That's just like not something we're used to, and it included some big plays: the Kenneth Gainwell 38-yard run, and then the 19-yard pass to Marquez Valdez-Scantling. So we were moving down the field in chunks, and that's also something we're not used to. So, yeah, overall, I was pretty impressed with how this game unfolded for us.
Yeah, this was a game where really we did dominate, like you said. both in the game, it felt like, and on the stat sheet.
Yeah.
22 first downs compared to Miami's 16, a total 336 yards compared to Miami's 285. By the way, a large chunk of those came into the fourth quarter where it really
Yep.
didn't matter. Um, 135 rushing yards on the ground compared to Miami's 63. And we won the turnover battle, forcing that interception from Asante Samuel, which was super cool. And then we won time of possession with 33 minutes. And we haven't been able to do this. Like, we have
No.
not been able to play football like this. And it shows, I think, how good of a team we can be when all these pieces mesh together, right? I
Yep.
listened to a few different media personalities today, and watched some Pat McAfee and a few different other things, and it's like, this is what the Steelers front office were hoping for with bringing Aaron Rodgers on and making all of these signings and knowing what this team can be. And at the end of the day, if we're playing like this, we might be able to compete with anyone. I don't know if I could say confidently that we can, and I think you still kind of still could argue that we don't really stretch the field or have a ton of big plays,
Yeah.
and maybe that's what our weakness is. But if we're playing like this, I do think we can go and compete with some of the other teams that are out there in the AFC. It's just a matter of if we can do it, right? Because look at the calendar. We're 15 weeks in, and this is really the first time we've done this all season, and we're sitting at 8-6. So it's
Yeah.
encouraging, but again, I'm going back to what we talked about a couple episodes ago, where I'm still just trying to be realistic about
Right.
everything that's going on. But this does give me definitely more of a sense of hope, knowing that, okay, this is how the team can and should operate. So I know we have it in us. Um, Maybe it's a bad way to think that way, but it was good to see it in action, you know?
I mean, I think it's reasonable skepticism from you just because of our track record and what we do. Sometimes we'll play great and sometimes we won't. And I do think the second half of this game was the most complete half of football we've played all year. They had in the third quarter a 3 play -8 yard drive and a 3 play -12 yard drive. And by that point, by the time they touched the ball to start the fourth quarter, they were down 28-3. And obviously we gave up 2 touchdown drives, but it's because, like you said, we were playing prevent and didn't really care. We were just trying to chew the clock. And the Dolphins did a really good job of chewing the clock by themselves. But I just thought, yeah, this one felt really good because of a few things. Like you said, on the stat sheet, we dominated. The only thing we didn't win was net passing yards. And that's because, like we just said, it was prevent defense, and they were just throwing all over us to end the game, which is totally fine at the end of the day. But every other stat we won, and we stuck to the running game. I think that was the key to this game because in the first quarter and beginning of the second quarter, we did not run the ball well. Besides the Jalen Warren 30-yard run that got called back for a holding, we didn't run the ball well at all. And the fact that they were able to come out and they stuck with it towards the end of the second quarter and then really got to it in the third quarter, I think really shows what this team can do. If we really play our cards right. And Aaron Rodgers was efficient. I mean, 23 of 27 for 224. I thought he played really well. And so if you have his passing attack with a decent running attack, and you're balanced in that way, I do think this offense can put some points up. And it's going to be slow, methodical drives, not a lot of big shots. But if you run the ball, that does open up the big shots. So maybe we are working our way towards that, and we can eventually get better. But I did think this was probably the most complete half of football we've played all season, which is pretty crazy to say.
Yeah, it's a good point. I almost wonder what the Steelers have up their sleeves, kind of
Yeah.
setting the stones here for, or laying the foundation for some potential big plays. I mean, it's pretty clear here that our top three wide receivers are DK, Adam Thielen, and MVS right now. And if you
Yep.
look at snaps and you look at percentage of how those three guys played, you'll definitely see that. And so that's kind of been a shift, obviously, from what we had given. Those are two guys that are just recently signed to the Steelers, recently elevated. But they bring veteran experience, and I think that makes Aaron Rodgers more comfortable and more confident. And you can make every argument you want to about, Mike Tomlin signs 2018 Pro Bowlers and guys that are, 35 years or older or whatever. But
Yeah.
right now, as it sits, it's working, and I'm totally okay with that. You mentioned the rushing side of the ball, 32 total carries for 135 yards. What stands out to me here really is Kenneth Gainwell is,
Man.
I think, the signing of the year for the Pittsburgh Steelers on
Yep.
his $1 million deal for 1 year, 1.4, whatever it was. Um, he is showing that he really is a phenomenal team player. Gets a lot of work in the passing game, gets a lot of work on the ground, and he makes the most of it whenever it comes his way and he has the ball in his hand. So he runs hard, he plays hard. Shout out to Kenneth Gainwell just because
Yeah.
he, I think, is a reason that the team is kind of in the position that we are right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Kenneth Gainwell has been probably the MVP for the offense so far this year, and he's been awesome. 13 for 80 on the ground, and then 7 catches for 46 yards. He's Aaron Rodgers' go-to guy. I mean, he had
Yeah,
led us in catches again, second in the yards, only behind DK Metcalf. He's been outstanding for us, and what a signing that's been, especially with Jalen Warren popping up on the injury report before the game with an illness. You could tell, even though they only had one less carry than Gainwell, you could tell they were trying to not play him as much as they could. Looking at the snap counts, Gainwell played only 4 more snaps than Jalen Warren, which is actually surprising to me. I thought Kenneth Gainwell was in there a lot more, but Gainwell was the more explosive back and has been for a few weeks, so good for him to keep going. I will mention with the veteran wide receivers, I mean, the stat sheet's not great. They each had 1 catch. Scantling 1 for 19 for the touchdown. Thielen 1 for 7. But have you noticed like a different demeanor with the offense since they've come in? Like, not that Calvin Austin and Roman Wilson weren't like run blocking or anything like that, but Adam Thielen's get down and dirty and making some big time blocks on the
it's
Johnny
like an
Smith.
older Steelers team, is what it
Exactly.
feels like.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
kind of feels like the Hines Ward days. Hines Ward and Randall getting in there and getting big blocks. I mean, Adam Thielen had the huge block that had the Johnny Smith touch on the Johnny Smith rushing touchdown. I mean, these guys. The good thing with them are they're veteran guys. They're not in this for superstardom or anything like that. They just want to win, and they're going to do whatever they can to win. And you see that, I think, the last 2 weeks since they called up MVS and added Adam Thielen, that the offense does seem to be different, and I feel like Aaron has a lot more faith in the entire receiving core, including Calvin Austin, but definitely in Adam Thielen and Marquez Valdez-Scantling. So I think those guys have completely changed this offense, and hopefully we can continue to build upon that as they get more and more comfortable in our offensive scheme and with Aaron Rodgers.
yeah, and what I liked in particular with those three guys is they found a way to be involved, but we also kept our tight ends involved too.
Yep.
And that's something that we've really only seen, it feels like, one or the other.
Yeah.
And we haven't really seen a presence, or I would say production, from all three of these tight ends, even 4 tight ends if
4.
you bring Connor Hayward into the equation, right? So Pat Fryermuth was involved, 3 catches for 45 yards. Darnell Washington, big plays where he catches the ball after 3 yards and barrels forward for 5, 6, 7 more. Jonnu Smith involved, a couple design plays directly to him, and of course the rushing touchdown on the toss play or the pitch, and then Connor Hayward, yeah, with kind of the under the gun tush push type plays. And so I just thought that was kind of good to see a holistic usage of the offense. DK was our leading receiver based on his big play, 3 catches and 55 yards. And, he only had 3 targets, but he made the most of that time. And
Yeah.
it was clear that if he was covered or he was, drawing attention, that Rodgers kind of went elsewhere. So I really liked how we were able to kind of incorporate holistically everyone on the offense here.
Yeah, and you could tell Rodgers is trying to get Darnell Washington the ball. He looked at him a couple of times, even a couple he didn't throw. He wanted to throw to Darnell Washington because he is a weapon. I mean, it took 5 Dolphins the one time to bring him down, and that's pretty impressive and can help you a lot. Pat Fryermuth again outsnapped Jonnu Smith 28 to 19, so 9 more snaps than Jonnu Smith, and I think that's been a change in recent weeks that's been positive for us as well. We had some over-the-middle throws to Pat Fryermuth, I think, for 2 big first downs or something like that, so I thought he was really productive. And then Jonnu Smith in the revenge game, him and Jalen Ramsey getting the sack, Jonnu Smith getting the touchdown. You could tell it meant a little bit to those guys. Jonnu Smith got to the sideline at one point and was jawing at his old teammates, and Ramsey was jawing the entire game at the sideline and the teammates, and you just could tell it meant a little bit more. So I think we were stupid to not call a bold prediction Jonnu Smith touchdown. Like, I didn't even think about that, but I knew that was going to happen when he lined up a running back. I didn't know we were going to hand it to him, but I knew they were going to design something. He is a dynamic tight end, so we might as well use him when he's in the game. But, yeah, like you said, I thought the tight ends were great. And, yeah, I think we we punished the Dolphins a little bit. We were the tougher team, especially late in the game. And I will say early in the game we weren't. I mean, the Dolphins came out and tackled really well to start the game.
They
Looked like
did
the
a lot of hard
cold
hits.
right, looked like the cold did not phase them. And then we just kept going, 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 and then it kind of seemed like they quit towards the end. And I don't know. I want to feel positive about it and say it's the Steelers winning and the Steelers playing well and the Steelers, showing their toughness. But I really hope it's not just the Dolphins giving up because they don't want to play in the cold or they just were a dead team. I think it was the offense like imposing their will, and hopefully we can continue that.
Yeah, I think so. I definitely think that this was what this team has wanted to be and
Yeah.
put that on display for us. And so, yeah, maybe it came at the time of, hey, we're 22-0 in Monday Night Football, going back to 1991, and Mike Tomlin doesn't lose those games, and we play really well in the color rush uniforms, and the
Yeah.
Dolphins suck in the cold. Yeah, we had all those things in our favor, but at the same time, this is a team that we've seen the lows, and we've seen that 1-11 record without T.J. Watt, and T.J. Watt didn't play, and we talked about how prominent Miami's run game was, and when we don't have Derek Harmon and he didn't play, and so I think we have to believe that this was the Steelers kind of imposing their will and playing a game like they needed to. So I
Yeah.
mentioned on the last episode, I haven't seen the Steelers put together a string of meaningful football to end the season and go on a hot streak and get hot when it matters in 7 or 8 years, right? And
Yep.
that's what we're craving. And maybe this could be the start of it. I think if you look at the last 2 weeks, yeah, the Ravens on the stat sheet wasn't great, but what matters is a win there. And now you play really, really good football in Pittsburgh against the Dolphins, and you have a really big matchup against the Detroit Lions, who are fighting for their life and fighting for a playoff spot. And they were a Super Bowl favorite to many at the beginning of the season. So we have our work cut out for us. And honestly, we'll talk about it when we get there towards the end of the episode. But it's a game that if you would have asked me a few weeks ago, no, I would say no chance that the Steelers win that game. And now I have a little bit of hope. Now I feel like there's a chance that we could win. Do I think we will? I
Yeah.
don't know. But I do feel like there's a possibility now just based on this team that I saw on Monday night.
Yeah. No, I mean I couldn't agree more. This definitely was they made a statement in this game in my opinion. The last thing I'll say just before we move on from the offense, I think we have to talk about the offensive line a little bit.
Yeah.
Isaac Seumalo went out of the game. It looks like, what did he go out with? I actually don't know what his injury was, but Tomlin said he's unsure of his status. Oh, I think it was a tricep actually. So that doesn't sound very good. But Spencer Anderson came in, played pretty well. Mason McCollum had to come in. Thought he played pretty well. But really the star of the show, I think, was Dylan Cook filling in his first NFL start. I mean, the guy was great, and you would think the first NFL start, and I think his third game played ever or something like that.
I think he's played 18 snaps prior
Okay, that's
to the team.
crazy. And
Yeah.
so you would think that, I mean, all year they've been giving Roger Jones help. You would think they would give Dylan Cook help. They really didn't. And he came out and shined, did not allow a single pressure on 30 pass blocks at left tackle. He faced Bradley Chubb on 18 of those 30 snaps and gave up 0, which is the most pass rushes against a blocker without generating a pressure for Bradley Chubb since 2018. That's a premier pass rusher, and he held him in check. So got to give a lot of credit to Dylan Cook, and we'll see moving forward if Andrews Pete gets healthy. He's still in concussion protocol, what they'll do at left tackle with how well Dylan Cook played.
Yeah, Dylan Cook definitely gave the coaching staff a tough decision to make.
Yeah.
Played really well, and I think that's really great for a guy like him. I also just got to say on the DK touchdown, I saw kind of a view from behind the ball, and gosh, the pocket was so clean for Rodgers in
Beautiful.
that play. So, yeah, it's been nice that we haven't really had to talk too much about the offensive line, and when we do, it's generally highlights. Now, Rodgers took, I think, 3 sacks this game. Don't know if those were pressure based or if some of those were self-inflicted, and the one he kind of fell down and kind of just to kind of kill the clock in the fourth quarter.
True.
So
Was that a sack? That's a good point, because I think other than that, the first 2 were in the – yeah, that was a sack to end our last play of our last offensive play. So the first 2 were the first quarter, the first 2 drives. And after that, he didn't really get hit the rest of the game.
right, so good performance all around by the offensive line.
Yeah.
Happy to bring that up. Okay, do you want to talk a little bit about the defense?
Yeah, I think we
'Cause
have
I
to.
think the offense was great, but Um, Gosh, the defense, you mentioned it about the Dolphins, but I really felt like this Pittsburgh Steelers defense was hitting hard
Yeah.
yesterday. They really hit hard and they put a lot of pressure on Tua, which was really great. 4 total sacks, which was really awesome. Peyton Wilson had a big one. The Jalen Ramsey sack was freaking awesome too.
Yep.
And just great holistic performance by the defense all around, right? You force an interception right off the bat. You go into half only letting up 3 points, and then you don't let up any other points until it's garbage time in the fourth quarter. So I was just very pleased that this is a defense that has had a lot of moving pieces throughout the season. But if you look at our secondary in particular, what we saw from Joey Porter Jr. and Asante Samuel, which Asante Samuel is someone we haven't really had the chance to talk about much because
No.
newer addition to the team. He had the interception, but he plugged and played kind of so easily and so fluently, kind of picked up, I feel like, right where he left off from his previous playing career. So I think, with James Pierre being out, Asante Samuel and Joey Porter Jr. are a pretty good duo to have at corner, if you ask me.
Yeah, and if you look at Joey Porter Jr.'s statistics, I mean, we were complaining about it at the beginning of the year. He's one of the top corners in the I guess the league for passer rating allowed and yards allowed per coverage snap. He's been fantastic, and so he's been shut down. And then whether you get James Pierre, Brandon Eccles will be great in the slot. You get James Pierre or Asante Samuel. I feel really good about our corners at the moment, which is crazy to think because 5 weeks ago I think we were complaining about our secondary. So
Mhm.
that move from Darius Slay was a big play. But you got to give a shout out to the defensive line and even Patrick Queen. I thought Patrick Queen played probably his best game of the year. He was all over the place, snuffing out the run, but this is crazy. Devon Achane had come off games of 175, 120, and 135 in the last 3 games. We held him to 60 yards in this game. Devon Achane's been one of the top running backs in the entire league, and he only had 12 carries because game script sort of forced them to throw the ball a little bit more. But I mean, early on, it looked like Achane might have like run all over us, and Nick Herbig made that really big play on the first drive of the game where he kind of got tackled to the ground and then tripped up Achane and got him. Otherwise, he had a couple big runs towards the end, but we bottled him up, and that's impressive with all of our D tackles. I think almost every single one was on the injury report this week and didn't practice all week, and Derek Harmon, like we mentioned, wasn't there. And to come out like that without TJ Watt, which I don't know I don't think that happened after our episode last week, so maybe we have to get into that. But yeah, I thought this defense was impressive, and I thought their backs were against the wall, especially with how bad they've been against the run, and they did a phenomenal job. So got to give all the credit to the defense in this one.
Yeah, I don't have too much to add. Patrick Queen was our leading tackler. That one play that he had where he stopped Achane dead on in the
Yep.
backfield. I think it was a third down. Huge play, and it's great. Again, I mentioned some of the different pieces that we've kind of had moving around. Just the level of kind of consistency we're starting to see from guys like Jack Sawyer and Kyle
Yep.
Duggar and Brandon Eccles. Just great contributions kind of all around from all these different guys. So nothing but pleased. And again, I go back to what we said very early, right? This is like the game that we saw offense play really well, defense play really well, and special teams play really well. And so if we can get these continued performances, this is like we've seen half of the year the Steelers defense look like shit, and
Yep.
half of the year we've seen them play like they are one of the best defenses in the league. And this was one of the latter. And so if we can keep that up, we're going to be a force to be reckoned with because teams aren't going to be able to put that many points up against us. And if our offense can come in and Aaron Rodgers can string together some touchdowns, or we're productive on the ground with Kenny G and with Jalen, like it's yeah, it's going to be tough for teams to play us. So
Yeah.
it's a good feeling all around.
And this was the most snaps. You brought up Jack Sawyer. He's probably played, I think, in a game so far this year. 56% of the snaps. I think Nick Herbig did go out with a hamstring injury, so he had to come in and play even more. And you could notice they had him back in coverage a lot. They trust this kid, and that's great to see. And there's a lot of guys stepping up, whether it's, I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name, Ezi Otomewu or however you say it. He played really well. Logan Lee almost had a sack towards the end of the game. So yeah, some of the depth guys really came in and played well when we needed it most. So props to the whole defense.
For sure. Anything else you want to add on D or move to special teams? Because
We can move to special teams.
not too much to talk about from a kicking perspective. Boz, no opportunities for field goals, so that was a total miss on my bold prediction there. I thought this was going to be a cold game, and Boswell, what I say, 4 field goals.
You
I
did.
was right with 4 kicks. He had 4 extra points. Wouldn't have guessed that they would be from coming from touchdowns beforehand. But I do just want to say I continue to think that Corliss Waitman is probably a weaker component of this football team.
Yeah.
He didn't have a bad game by any means, but I don't think he's really shined at all this season. And 5 punts for 231 yards, that's an average of what, like 46 or something?
46.2.
Yeah, 46.2. Just nothing really to write home about from my perspective with Corliss Waitman. It's an area where maybe we could see improvement moving forward.
Yeah, I agree. I did think this was one of his better games punting. A lot of his punts were more like pin him inside the 20 punts, and
Sure.
he had, I think, two of those that weren't that great, got him between the 10 and the 20, and then one touchback, which actually was a decent punt, but the returner faked out our team, so we didn't get to the ball. And then the other one was a great defense or a great play by Ben Skoranek, Brandon
Yeah.
Eccles, and Corliss Waitman to pin him at the 3. So I thought it wasn't anything special, but I thought Waitman did pretty well in this game.
Well, that's good. I think you mentioned the what could have been honestly the play of the game there, the Ben Skoranek play. By the way, Ben Skoranek is, I think, first in special teams player votes for the Pro Bowl, which is very deserving.
Yeah.
So it'll be great to see him go in after a guy like we had Miles Killebrew do the same thing. So great stuff for Danny Smith's special teams group. Ben Skoranek, a great gritty team player. We've talked about him
Yeah.
multiple episodes, and just love having a guy like him back there and helping out on special teams and stepping in, to run a route and catch a ball here and there on the offensive side of things. So that was great to see.
Good old Benny Sco. Come on, let's get him to the Pro Bowl.
All right. Anything else you want to add on the game? Are you ready to kind of jump into a balls and a
I
jack?
think I'm ready to move on. Just an overall dominating performance. It's weird. We don't know how to talk about games like this because this doesn't
Yeah.
happen very often.
I agree. I want you to lead off. Maybe actually I can lead off from a negative perspective. Let's go Jagoffs first. I do feel a little guilty because I don't think I've had a legitimate Jagoff of the week in a while. Like, they've all been some form of Polt specials, and they're going to continue to be some form of Polt specials. But this one irks me, man, and I'm going to give my Jagoff of the week to our 10-man tush push.
Nice.
That play drives me absolute bonkers to know that, okay, granted, it was relatively successful. I think it worked 3 out of 4 times that we did it on Monday night. There was one play where it clearly didn't work. There's a few things that I think are notable to bring up here. The first of which is the fact that Rodgers is always standing back there, and we're one man less than everyone else who runs a tush push, and we're one man less than a defense who's defending against us. Now, I know Darnell Washington is 6'7" and 320 pounds, and he can pick you up and throw you across any line or push you across any line. But the fact that Rodgers is back there doing nothing, I don't love that. And I really wish that you would put Mason Rudolph in there and have Darnell Washington push him, or have an extra component of, like, when Justin Fields was on the team, he would take those sneaks. I know Aaron Rodgers isn't going to, but heck, put Will Howard in and have him run the quarterback sneaks. Do something, or run some, wildcat formation where we don't have a quarterback on the field. I don't know, but the only thing that I think could be potentially promising is that I've seen some things floating around on Twitter or on X that they feel like the Steelers have it up in their sleeve that one of these days it's going to be a fake and that ball is going to go to Aaron Rodgers and something's going to happen. Now, if that's what they're cooking, then that's then I can't be mad at that. But as it sits today, I really do not like our 10-man tush push, and it just drives me absolute nuts. Now, shout out Connor Hayward. He's been doing a good job. Shout out Darnell Washington. Been doing a good job. But the other thing to point out, which is interesting, is it's not like the classic Eagles tush push where they're going directly over the center. If you watch, notice they like go over to the right side, and like
Yeah.
Zach Frazier isn't really propelling himself forward. It's an interesting move that the Steelers are doing here with this play, but I'm just sick of it. And quite frankly, I'm mixed on Aaron Rodgers. It just kind of makes me mad that he just stands there in the back. So yeah, that's my jag off of the week.
It is a waste, so I get it. The memes are hilarious, the videos are hilarious though, and I do hope they're planning something. They've already run like a different play off of it with the Kenneth Gainwell long touchdown, so maybe they will come up with something that it goes back to him and we run a pass or something. I don't know, but yeah, it just looks it looks ridiculous, but it is pretty funny. So I can't blame you there.
All right, who you got for a jag?
I'm with you. This has been hard to give a jag off to. And I'm kind of just searching for one, but I think I'm going to give it to Caleb Johnson. And you might say, well, he didn't really play very much, and how does he get a jag off? You would be right. He played 2 snaps, but on those 2 snaps, he had 2 carries, and he had 2 carries for 4 yards. And he doesn't play special teams anymore after the mishap against Seattle, and he barely sees the field on offense. And I don't know. It's kind of disappointing for the year we thought he would have, and in those moments when he gets the ball, if he wants to see the field more, he's going to have to make a play, and he's just not doing it. So, not that he's totally deserving of it, but I do think that is like the one dim light of at least this game and a lot of this offense moving like this season. Just his production's not there. He's kind of just riding the bench, just taking up a spot on the active roster, and for that reason, I'm going to give it to Caleb Johnson. I do hope he pulls through, but yeah, for lack of a better one, it's going to Caleb Johnson.
Yeah, that's fair. I actually thought I expected to see more of him in the
Me
fourth
too.
quarter when we were up. And I was surprised to kind of see Kenneth Gainwell continue to be in the game after the game that he was having. So,
I
yeah,
just don't know if they trust him. I don't know.
yeah, they probably don't. I mean, and what? He was our third round pick, right? So you got to
Yep.
wonder what's going to happen here with Kenneth Gainwell if he gets re-signed. He's definitely putting together a reason for him to be re-signed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, your running backs, at least the guys you have on the roster for next year, are Jalen Warren and Caleb Johnson. So, gotta wonder what's going to happen there. So,
Yeah. I
okay,
agree.
fair enough. I want you to lead off here
Oh man.
with the balls of steel, unless you want me to. I'm kind
No.
of between two guys, and if you're in the same boat, I'm going to give it to the other guy. But
Well,
uh,
I'm not torn between 2 guys, so maybe you go first.
okay, um,
Or,
what's
I mean, I can go, but mine's not
no, no, you're good. Let's just go, and I'm gonna go with my gut here. I'm gonna give it to Dylan Cook. We already talked about him.
amazing. Yeah.
I just think Dylan Cook. He played 18 snaps, I believe it was, before starting this game. Gets the nod to come in, and he showed that he can be a starting offensive lineman in the league and for the Steelers when we need him. So. Yeah, we already mentioned his accolades. I think it was 30 pressures facing Bradley Chubb, and didn't let anything up. Right, so
Yep.
really great stuff from Dylan Cook. I'm just going to say my honorable mention, just with the game that he played. He's been given them before, so that's the reason that he didn't get it. But Kenneth Gainwell, I think, is really deserving for how he played in this game too. So there's my balls. There's my honorable mention. And over
I
to
love
you.
it. Yeah, no, that's good. I think Dylan Cook deserves it, and Kenneth Gainwell is becoming like a universal balls of steel. It's pretty amazing for him. I'm going to give my honorable mention first. This doesn't change anything long term, but I mean, we try to play both sides here, and for how much we rip on him, you got to give some credit. Excuse me, to Mike Tomlin. I mean, he was 3 for 3
Wow.
on 4th downs. He actually went for it on his own side of the field early in the game. It was a 0-0 game on his own 41, and he went for it. I thought he coached differently last night, in my opinion. He didn't, as he would say, live in his fears. And if he coaches like this and he's aggressive like this, it could be a difference for this team. So I got to give him a little bit of credit there.
Hey, I agree. The second that his 9-8 winning record comes into question, he starts playing like a different coaching like a different coach, and that really made him nervous. He had to get this win here to kind of secure that, right? Because if you lose, you only got to win one of the next three for that for him.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, fair. I guess kind of a
I liked
joke,
it for
but
the
kind of fair.
mentality.
Yeah, that's fair. That's totally fair.
Okay, but my real one is you're gonna probably hate this even more. My real one's gonna go to the entire tight end room, and it's partly because I'm wearing my Darnell Washington Angry Run shirt.
Oh, you
It's a
got it.
it's a beautiful shirt. Yep, and I'm pretty sure DK just won this week, so look out for that one. Um, I thought this tight end room was the difference in the game. I mean, they had three of the four touchdowns. That includes Connor Hayward with the four rushes, 4 yards, and a touchdown. It's the Jerome Bettis stat from years ago. Uh, Darnell Washington, three catches for 25. Pat Fryermuth, 3 for 45. Johnny Smith, 2 for 12, and then the 1 for 14 for a touchdown run. I just thought they were the difference in the game, and they continue to kind of be our playmakers. And we're starting to, I think, get the pecking order correct. Darnell Washington, Fryermuth, and then Johnny Smith. And I like to see that they're all
It's
contributing.
crazy,
'Cause,
but I love
yeah,
it.
I mean, Johnny Smith is still a really good pass catcher, so getting him involved is good. So I don't know. I'm going to give it to the entire tight end room because I thought they dominated this game.
That's fair. I will let that Polt special slide because I think it's very deserving. Um, one thing I just kind of got to say to tie up this game, at least from my perspective.
Sure.
Um, we didn't talk about TJ Watt, I
Yeah.
think, because that news came after our last episode. TJ Watt complained of pain after a practice, and it was found that he had a small hole in his lung or a small puncture or something. Everything was treated and taken care of, and he went to the hospital and is now doing well, supposedly. And I think rest is really what TJ needs, and that's probably why he sat out. Um, but that said, all this chatter around how the Steelers are so bad without TJ Watt, right? 1-11 without him.
Yeah.
And I think that we can finally say that stat, not that it's like, I almost would say that it's not even concerning anymore, but I would go as far to say like that stat doesn't even matter anymore, because what you have with our edge rushers, with Highsmith, and with
Herbig
what's his face, Herbig,
and Sawyer.
we
Yeah.
yeah, and even Jack Sawyer, right? You mentioned he's played probably more in this game than he has all season. And what you have with these three guys behind TJ Watt is like the true depth, and maybe not even as much Sawyer, although I think he might grow into that role. But with those two guys, with Highsmith and with Herbig, and when they're healthy, we don't have to like ride on TJ Watt like we have in the past before. Look how convincingly we won, and you could very easily say that our best player was out in this game, and it's pretty rare that happens. So
Yeah.
I just got to say, I think it's time that we kind of kick that stat to the curb, and I'm sure it's going to get brought up as he is out again in the future. But as far as I'm concerned, it's not a huge hole in our game, and quite frankly, no shame against or no slights against TJ Watt. He's not having as great of a year as he had in the past, right? But
Yeah.
I think a lot of what he does is predictable in a sense with how he always lines up in the same spot, and that's probably a coaching and scheme thing. But I don't for a second worry at all when TJ Watt is out anymore. So I just wanted to mention that because I think it's worth talking about.
Yeah, that's an interesting opinion. I guess I didn't think about it that way, but I do think we still need him a lot. And moving
Fair.
forward, I don't know if we can win a playoff game or maybe even win the division without him. I do think he's still an important piece. But you're right; it does speak to the depth we have, which is really good. But yeah, T's and P's to him. Hopefully, he can come back. A collapsed lung is pretty scary. Luckily, it wasn't by the Steelers training staff; it was by dry therapy outside of the building. But Tyrod Taylor, who had this happen by his own training staff a couple of years ago, was out for 4 weeks. So
Yeah.
I don't know. TJ had a small procedure. Hopefully he can come back. Aaron Rodgers' comment on it, did you find that odd after the game? He said, I don't know where TJ's been all week, but hopefully he's back next week. Like, I thought that was weird. Yeah, I don't really get it, but hopefully TJ can come back. But I'm with you. Hopefully we can put that stat to bed and move forward and get our guy back.
For sure. All right, ready to move on to a little bit of preview?
Yeah, or do you want to
Or do you
do
want to talk
playoff
playoffs?
scenarios? Yeah, maybe we should do playoffs first.
Yeah, let's talk playoffs here for a second because here's what the situation is. The situation is the Pittsburgh Steelers are in playoff position and are in the hunt. Well, we're not in the hunt, but we through the end of the season will have a chance to make the playoffs. So through week 18, again, there's going to be a chance that we're either in or a chance that we're fighting for our lives. And the paths to get there are pretty simple. Generally speaking, we have to win our division, right? We have to win the AFC North. I think there's like a 1% chance that we could get a wild card spot, but it's
Yeah.
probably not going to happen. So our pathway in is through winning the AFC North, and that is really all that matters. So here's what has to happen. Actually, it's as simple as doesn't matter what happens the next 2 weeks. If we beat the Ravens in week 18, we're automatically in. Now, that is something I fear is probably going to happen. It's going to come down to week 18. But there are some scenarios in play. And you and I talked about this a lot today, but I did so much research and like looked at schedules and tried to figure things out. And I found a couple of tweets that summed it up really nicely. But what it ultimately boils down to is that there are two other ways that the Steelers can clinch the playoffs, aside from waiting till week 18 to beat the Ravens, are first and foremost, you beat Detroit next week and you beat Cleveland the week after, and the Ravens lose one of their next two games. The Ravens play the Patriots and they play the Packers. So if we win the next two and the Ravens lose one of their next two, we're in, and week 18 doesn't matter. We can rest, we can relax. So that would be a phenomenal scenario. The Steelers truly control their own destiny, are in the driver's seat. The other path is if the Ravens actually lose both of those games, so they lose to the Patriots and they lose to the Packers,
Yeah.
and we win one of our games against Detroit and Cleveland, that also puts us in and then makes week 18 worthless. So those are kind of the pathways that we can make it in. I think to me, what is most realistic, and I said this to you, and please debate me here because I just have a hard time seeing the Ravens lose games when it matters. But I think the Steelers are gonna lose to Detroit. I think we're gonna beat Cleveland, and I think the Ravens will either win both or win one. And Week 18 is what it's gonna come down to. The reason that it comes down to Week 18 in those scenarios is because the Ravens will have a tiebreaker over us if we have the same record.
Yep.
Okay, that was a lot of ranting. What are your thoughts?
I think first, just one more scenario. If we lose this week and the Ravens win, the only week that matters is week 18. Week 17
True.
doesn't matter for either team. So we
Right.
could see us. I don't think we would, but you could see us rest starters week 17 instead of 18 because 17 doesn't matter. Just throwing that out there. Um, I I agree with you that the most likely scenario is it's going to come down to week 18. Where I'm coming from is I am hoping that doesn't happen because I'm of the opinion I'm worried that if we come into a winner take all for the division week 18, they're gonna come in and beat us and
Yeah.
I just fear that they dominated us on the stat sheet last time. We maybe got lucky with calls or a few plays here and there, and I know they struggle against us, but the Ravens are a really good team, and I know we are too. But that's a tough scenario to be in. Um, I will say though, I do think they could lose both. So they play in or at home against New England on Sunday Night Football this week. New England's coming off of loss to Buffalo. They're 11-3. They're
They're
only
trying
two,
to win their division.
they're only a game up to win the division. I mean, and otherwise they have to go on the road as a wild card team in the playoff, and I don't think they want to do that. So they have everything to play for. I mean, the Patriots absolutely have everything to play for, and I think they are a really good team. We'll see what happens in that game. So I think that is losable. The game the following week is in Green Bay Saturday night against the Packers. Now the Packers lost their best defensive player. That's unfortunate. Micah Parsons is out for the year. But the Packers are fighting for their lives too. They're a half a game behind the Bears, who they play this upcoming weekend for the division. And then if they don't win the division, they're only a half a game up, or maybe it's a game and a half up on the Detroit Lions for seventh to make a wild card spot. So the Packers are also fighting for their playoff lives. So luckily we have them playing two teams that are both very good, that care a lot about these next two games, and we'll see what Baltimore Ravens team we have. in those two games. But I do think it is possible they lose both. Am I saying it's likely? No, but I think it's a realistic scenario.
And it's the best case scenario. And
Yeah,
I think the Steelers have very often found themselves in hope scenarios where we are hoping that other teams lose, and we're still doing it, right? Because that would just be the absolute best case scenario. Now the Patriots Ravens game is Sunday night. Is that correct? It got
yes,
flexed
in
into
Baltimore.
Sunday night, right? So we are going to have to watch our game, and if we lose, we're like going to be really, really praying, even more so that the Ravens
Yeah,
lose, because then you said Week 17 doesn't matter at all, and it's really comes down to Week 18. If we lose Week 17, or sorry, if we lose against the Lions, and the Ravens go on to lose as well, if we put together a win against the Browns and the Ravens lose to the
we
Packers,
clinch.
then we're in. So we really just need a Ravens loss, two losses. But
But to your point, though, we control. This is something we're not used to. We do control our own destiny. If we just go out there and we go into Detroit and we win that game, and then we beat the Browns, and then we beat the Ravens, I mean, it's a moot point. So at the end of the day, we do control our destiny with that one game lead. And if we just go out and continue to win football games, then it doesn't even matter all these scenarios. But this is the Steelers we're talking about. We don't we don't really expect that.
yeah, well, that's a great segue. Let's preview this Lions game because
Yep.
this is a tough team that the Steelers are going into play against. And um, I don't know how I feel particularly about this game. My gut says that I don't think we go on and win this game. Now, that's not saying anything about what I'm hoping for, wishing for, right? But this is a really, really tough team to play against. And I'm going to read you a couple things that at least point towards my gut feel and
Yeah.
statistics, and then I'll kind of let you lead in. So first of all, Detroit Lions 8-6. They're fighting for their own playoff lives. They are
Yep.
5-2 at home, so this is a tough game to play on the road. It's a 425 game for us on the East Coast, and Detroit's opening as a 7-point favorite, which is a pretty sizable line. I like being the dogs there, but 7 points shows that most people think that Detroit is probably going to win this game.
Hmm.
Jared Goff, their quarterback, is the third highest in passing yards this season, 29 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. To put that in perspective, against Aaron Rodgers stats, so Goff has 3,600 passing yards. Aaron Rodgers has just shy of 2,600. So Goff has 1,000 more passing yards. He has 7 more passing touchdowns and 2 less interceptions. Jared Goff is having himself a really solid year, and definitely the Lions are very lethal through the air. Now, if you look at it from their receivers, you can see where that shows up. Amon-Ra St. Brown has over 1,000 yards on the season already. He's the fifth leading receiver in the NFL. They also have the 10th leading receiver in the NFL with Jamison
Wow.
Williams, and he has 936 yards. So they're about to have two 1,000-yard receivers this season with 3 more games left for them to play. So they're lethal through the air, but they're also lethal on the ground. I'm interested to see what you're going to say in terms of their rushing and their passing stats. But Jahmyr Gibbs is a top 10 or top 5 even rushing, and with the ball in his hand. He has over 1,100 rushing yards on the ground, and I don't have his numbers up for receiving stats, but he has quite a few. So we have our hands full. A couple other things really quickly.
You're
Um,
good. You're
the
good.
Lions, I believe, now tell me if this is hearsay, but I do believe that I've heard something that the Lions haven't lost back-to-back games in a very, 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 very long time. Um,
Yep.
they're coming off a loss right now, so that doesn't bode well for the Steelers. Particularly, they lost to the Rams last week, 41-34, and the Lions are also pretty accustomed to putting up 30 plus points on the board each week. They've done it multiple times this season, and I think that's close to what they're averaging. Last thing I'll mention here, Jahmyr Gibbs, their running back number one, total stud. His last 7 games, here's his pattern with touchdowns: 0, 3, 0, 3, 0, 3. Last week, 0. What
Yep.
comes next in the sequence?
3.
3. So, see if we can break that sequence. When Jahmyr Gibbs scores a touchdown, by the way, the Lions are like 7-0 or something this season. It's pretty wild. So keep him out of the end zone. Maybe that'll fly into your bold prediction. So that's enough for me. Probably more than I go into depth with normally. But the Lions are a damn good team, and we have our work cut out for us.
Yeah, and everything you've said, I have things to back it up. They've gone since week 5. They started the season with a loss and then 4 straight wins. Since week 5, they've been alternating wins and losses every single week. And what'd you say? They're coming off of a loss to the Rams. So by the trend, they're going to win this game is how the trends look, and that lines up with the Jahmyr Gibbs touchdown stats. So that's really interesting. Their offense is unbelievable statistically. They average 30.6 points a game, which is first in the NFL. Like you mentioned, they're third in the NFL in passing yards at 248 a game, and they're fifth in rushing yards at 131 yards a game. Defensively, though, they're not as good. They're 23rd defensively, giving up 24.6 points a game. They're 24th against the pass, and they're 13th against the run. So definitely a better run team than pass team. They have some big-time injuries on the defensive backfield. Brian Branch, I think he plays safety, a little bit of nickel, and then Kirby Joseph, one of their starting safeties. They're both out, I believe. Well, Branch is done for the year. I think Kirby Joseph is too. So that's something to take advantage of. I don't know if their corners, Terrion Arnold, I think they had another one that's been hurt for a while. I think they might be back, but this game, I think, in my opinion, comes down to can our defense stop them? And like you mentioned, Jahmyr Gibbs is the feature guy. He kind of he's the guy that makes the engine go for this offense. If all the pressure's put on Jared Goff, like we said last week with Tua Tagovailoa, they're gettable and their offense can be stopped. But when they have the ground game going and they have the short pass game to Jahmyr Gibbs going, they can be a really hard team because David Montgomery will come slam down the middle as well. I don't know. This is a tough one. This is going to really show, has it been flukes the last couple of weeks, or is our defense truly changed and truly ready for a test? I'm actually kind of excited to see it because we've been asking a lot of questions, and we're going to get them answered this week. And even if they struggle, I mean, giving up 20, 25 points in this game is not a bad thing. That's just how good the Lions are. But if you hold them under 30, I think you have a chance to win, but that's the only way. If they go over 30, I don't think we have a chance. So to me, 30 points or even 28 is kind of the threshold we have to try to live under. So we'll see what the defense can do.
So I'm going to build my bold prediction off of that. The Detroit Lions have not scored less than 24 points this season in a game at home. I'm going to say that the Pittsburgh Steelers keep the Detroit Lions under 24 points this week at home. That's where I'm going.
So,
I don't know if that means we win, but the way this defense has been playing, I think they're gonna. I see the potential for them to keep it up. So yeah, granted, the Lions have had a couple games this year where they've been really low scoring. Week 1, they scored 13 points. Against the Chiefs, they scored 17 in Kansas City. They also had a game against the Eagles where they only put up 9 points on the board. So it's not totally unheard of. They just haven't been held under 24 at home this year.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go on and say that I think and hope that the Lions do play the number 1 defense in the NFL this week, and we hold them under 24.
Wow. And I would assume if you're making that prediction, you think the Steelers could win, which would be really interesting. I'm going to go even bolder. And I'm going to go to your whole big key and what we've been talking about. Jahmyr Gibbs, it's him. He's the cook in this whole offense. And I think that we hold him under 100 yards rushing and receiving combined.
Wow. All
that
purpose.
Does not happen.
100?
All purpose. That does not happen often. It has happened 2 of the last 3 weeks, 3 out of the last 5. And I think we try to continue that trend. He has this, it's every other game. And I think we break that trend and we make it 2 straight games where he's under 100 all-purpose yards. And if that's the case, then I think we win the game, and that's what I'm going to predict. I think it's a close one. I really do. Your 24 points is pretty great. I'm going to go Steelers 27-24. I don't feel good about that. I don't. But I'll go back to my ways of I'm gonna try to always bet on the Steelers.
Yeah, I like it. Listen, I think if I go back to everything that we talked about, I do feel like this Steelers team has shown us that they have the potential to win. Do I actually think Honestly, I'll be totally honest with you. I don't think that the Steelers win this week. I just think that their
Yeah.
work's really cut out for them, and the Lions are really, really fighting. And I also have like this sick in my stomach feeling that I know it's going to come down to week 18 and it's just going to be total ass. But I think that there's definitely a potential that the Steelers can win. And to your point against Gibbs, we held Josh Jacobs to 30 some yards. We held Jonathan Taylor to under 50 yards. Derrick Henry under 100 yards. Devon Achane, you just said 60 yards. We can play well against some of these good players. So maybe let's go in and hope we play hard and play well, and the Lions don't. And that's all we can kind of hope for.
I'm with you. It's going to be tough. They have one less, like their turnover differentials one less than us. They're fifth in the league. So this game's going to come down to, does the defense show up and do we take care of the football offensively? And if we do both of those things, I think we can win. Is it likely? I wouldn't call it likely, but I think it's possible.
All right, I'm with you. Early Christmas gift, hopefully. That would be
Sweet.
awesome. And double down with a Ravens loss would be even better. Now, if we lose and the Ravens lose, I think everything is okay.
Yeah.
But if we lose and the Ravens win, not going to be a happy camper over here.
By the way, is this our first 425 game of the year? I
No, we
think
had
it
one
is.
the Chargers. We played the Chargers at 425, didn't we?
No, the Chargers were Sunday Night Football.
Oh, that's right. Then maybe this is our first afternoon game.
I think it's our first
Good
late
slot.
afternoon.
I do
So
like those
come on.
afternoon games.
Me too.
All right. Well, we'll be looking forward to it. Steelers, like always, hanging in there, making us sweat it out and through the end of the season. But for once, control their own destiny in the driver's seat. Let's see if we can really play some meaningful football and get things in order. So, with that, we're going to sign off. Appreciate everyone for listening, watching. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, everyone. Peace.